My name is Lily Guerrero, and I am Assistant Professor of Voice here at the Butler School of Music.
All right, well, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And welcome to Austin. You're still kind of new,
Yes, I am.
right? So you've been here a year at Butler, right?
Yes. Yeah, I've actually been living in the area for longer because I was at Texas Lutheran University down in Seguin. So I've been in Austin for a couple years now, but this was my first year at UT.
Okay, yeah. And you've really hit the ground running, right? I was so excited to see this opera, the stuff you're putting on with the Austin Public. It's a collaboration, I think, between the Austin Public Library System, Austin Opera, and Butler. Is
Correct.
that correct?
Yes.
Is that correct? And I've got two little kids, and one's not so little. She just turned 10. She went to her first opera, The Queen of Spades, like a month ago, and
great.
loved it.
Oh, good.
So we as a family are just so stoked. So I'm so excited to get to talk to you about this. So tell me a little bit about this.
So this project came about kind of through what Austin Opera is already doing with their education and outreach. So our third collaborator, Andrea Ochoa, who is the director of education and outreach for Austin Opera, we worked together last year as I was a teaching artist for her. And so my job was to go into elementary schools and give a little 45-minute program for the kids about what is opera? What does it take to be an opera singer? I'd sing for them, answer questions, play little games with them. And it was really fun. I noticed that a lot of the students responded well to the music, and they would make connections to their own stuff. I had a lot of students tell me, this sounds kind of like mariachi music. And I said, yeah, the way that we sing kind of is similar. And so later that summer, we decided to do a similar event in partnership with the Mexican consulate. And that was a very similar thing, 45 minutes about meeting the opera and the singers, but it was bilingual since we were at the consulate. And that went really well. And so I talked to Andrea and thought, oh my gosh, what could we do with more? If I had more money, if I had more time, if I had more resources, what could we be doing? And COFA actually has a brand new community engagement seed grant. And so my first faculty meeting here at BSOM, I had multiple people coming up to me saying, you need to meet Charles, you need to meet Charles Carson. And I said, okay, I don't know who this is, but it sounds like we're meant to collaborate together. And so I ended up talking to Charles, and he had a lot of the same interests that I do, which is engaging with the community, engagement, especially things around reaching audiences that aren't usually at the opera or may not have seen themselves at the opera before. And so we decided that this would be a great opportunity. So we applied for that grant. And originally we were going to treat it as kind of like a 5-day camp, very similar to like a vacation Bible school. But come to find out, it's really hard to feed and keep track of a lot of kids throughout an entire week. So we decided this year, let's try a 6-series workshop at different libraries around town. So 1 hour at each place. That way we're getting geographically a lot of different people who can come see us. But then also if the kids miss a week here, miss a week there, all of our programming is such that if you only come to 1 or come to 2, you can jump right in and participate.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, and it's so interesting what you talked about, how when you went into the schools, the students would say it sounds like mariachi music.
Yeah.
That is, and reaching these new boundaries, because I know this last season they did a mariachi opera.
Yes.
Austin Opera. I wasn't able to go, but I heard it was amazing. And then the year before they did the Steve Jobs, you weren't here yet, but they did
right.
a Steve Jobs, the Revolution of Steve Jobs, which also, it was amazing, and it reached totally different audiences, like kind of the tech crowd. So, like, what kind of stuff did you do when you went to the schools?
So Andrea has a program that she calls Opera Treasure Chest. And so what that is schools can contact Austin Opera and talk to them about getting educational materials for their students. So the Opera Treasure Chest comes with a bunch of puppets from the Magic Flute. It comes with a few DVDs of the opera so that they can watch it. And then also some stories, picture books, so that the kids can get introduced to opera and find out what it is. And it's really helpful for teachers on days when they don't want to teach. They can just throw the DVD on, and the kids are fascinated by the Queen of the Night and all of that. And so by the time I got there was kind of a curriculum set where I was going to sing 4 or 5 arias for them, and they needed to be in different languages and styles, so they kind of had an idea of what opera is. And I took that and fleshed it out a little bit more, where we would talk about all of the languages that opera comes in. And then we talked about what it takes to become an opera singer. So we did vocal exercises and practiced making our lungs strong so that we can sing really loud without microphones. And the question and answer section of those little meetings was always fun, because kids would ask me, like, can I buy a piano on Amazon? Or how long have you been singing like that? And of course, the first time I opened my mouth, they all want to cover their ears because they're just not used to hearing it. But yeah, it was very interesting to see some kids put that together with other musical traditions that they're used to, of, oh, I've heard this kind of music in church, or what I mentioned earlier, oh, I've heard this, but it's kind of like mariachi music. And I was actually part of the production of Cruzar at Austin Opera this season.
Oh, wow.
And
yeah, we were so bummed that we had to miss it. We were out of town.
But yeah. It was so great. And actually, Opera San Antonio is doing it this fall.
Oh,
so
wow.
You'll have another opportunity to see that. But Tuesday, the final dress rehearsal of Austin Opera Productions, we invite kids from the area to come see the show, and it's an invited dress rehearsal. And the amount of kids who were just so excited to see their culture on stage and to hear music and to see people that look like them, they were so excited. And I got to talk to a lot of them after, and they said, are there more operas like this? And there will be.
Yeah, no, it's just, it's so amazing. Now, you seem so passionate about this, like, interacting with the kids, but a lot of people, especially in the opera world, they would be horrified of having to go into these schools. What do you think drives you that this is so intriguing to you, to work with kids and kind of the next generation, even the next generation?
The reason why I'm doing this is, when I was younger, I was raised in a predominantly white school district. I didn't have a lot of students that looked like me at my school, and we actually didn't have any black students at my school until 2005, when Hurricane Katrina hit. We had some people that were displaced from Louisiana that came up to Michigan, where I was living, and joined our school. So very homogenous upbringing. And I didn't know what opera was or really get into it until senior year of high school, because I just didn't think that it was for me. I didn't see anyone that looked like me, and it didn't seem like I was rich enough or had enough education to understand opera in all these languages, and they're so long and all of this stuff. And come to find out, opera is just dressing up and storytelling, just like everything else. So I'm really excited that I got to grow up and be a professional storyteller and silly person. And so it's really fun to instill that in the kids too, and show them that, opera is just like musical theater, is just like acting, is just like TV. It's all just imagination and creativity and collaboration, a lot of things that we teach kids already in sports or in music. It's just a different way for them to be expressive with their individuality. And so I think that's one really exciting aspect of this workshop, is that we're not just talking about the singers. Each week we're talking about a different part of opera production. So we're talking to the choreographer, we're talking to the set designer, we're talking to the orchestra. The kids are going to do an instrument petting zoo. Kappa Kappa Psi and Phi Mu Alpha have volunteered to do an instrument petting zoo. So the kids who have never gotten to touch an instrument or even try can blow through a trumpet and see if they like it. And so hopefully that'll be fun.
So what instruments will be there at the instrument petting zoo?
We'll have all the instruments that are easily transportable, so no marimbas or harps. But your standard flute, clarinet, trumpet, violin, viola, cello, tuba. It's always fun to try to watch the kids hold a tuba. That's always pretty cute. But when I was in college, I was a volunteer, and we did petting zoos at the zoo. And that's where I got the idea from. This is really fun.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. And so what changed when you were in high school that made you fall in love with opera?
My voice teacher, so I was actually in band. I thought I was going to be a band director. I was a huge marching band nerd, drum major, and all that stuff. And I thought I was going to be...
That's a different world than
Yes,
opera.
Very different, especially here in Texas.
Yeah.
It's a religion here.
It is a religion, yeah.
And so I was trying to do flute and voice at the same time, and my voice teacher said, you know, you have a voice that's really suited to opera. And I said, I don't know what that is. And he gave me a DVD of Pavarotti and Mirella Freni. It was the 1989 San Francisco Opera production of La Boheme. It's the standard Zeffirelli with the beautiful sets and scenes. And I just loved that music because Puccini is so, it's verges on movie music. You know, it's really accessible and it's pretty, it's nice, pleasant to listen to. And so little 16-year-old me was trying to sing Si mi chiamano Mimi. And I just went from there. I ended up getting a full ride to study vocal performance at the undergrad that I went to. And my parents said, oh, well, if they're paying for it, then go. And the rest is
So
history.
they supported you in opera?
Absolutely. I think they were a little nervous about me doing music just because I am the child of two immigrants. And so there is very much a kind of an American dream narrative that you are raised with when you're raised in an immigrant family where, you know, your parents sacrificed so much for you to be here. They literally outran bullets and swam from communism. And so, you know, could you at least get an A in biology? So I was a really hard worker. I've always really enjoyed learning and education and creativity. And so it worked out really well because I was just predisposed to be a nerd, I guess. And so I'm really lucky that every day I get to do what I like to do, which is make music, be silly, and help other people find the music within themselves. And I don't know who else gets to wake up every day and like do the thing they love, but I'm really grateful that I'm one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk me through this workshop, like what, from a parent's perspective, right? So parents that are watching this, what kind of ages is it for? What, you know, just the whole thing.
Yeah, so we usually say it's like for ages 5 to 11, but, you know, either end is fine. It's a 1-hour program, so it's quick, it's tight. We keep the ball rolling. There will be teaching artists from Austin Opera who come and kind of head the show, and they will be singing arias and things for the students. And then there will be interactive elements with the students. So they will be learning dances. They'll be singing along with us. On the set designer day, they will get to help make props, and we'll paint a backdrop for our set. And the final workshop is going to be a culmination of all of them. So we kind of put together everything we've learned, and the kids put on a show themselves with the teaching artists, which will be super fun. You don't have to attend all of them. You can, you know, go to one or two or go to all of them. They're free.
But it doesn't repeat.
It does not repeat.
So it's good to go to all of them.
Yeah.
You will keep learning, right?
Yes, you can absolutely go to all of them. They're only one time each, but you do not have to go to all of them to attend one if you only can go to a later one.
And they're at different locations. Each one is at a different library.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So we did that on purpose because we wanted to make sure that we were serving a larger demographic in Austin, especially with, you know, the church jobs that students get or the outreach that BSOM is currently able to do. It kind of stays, you know, downtown or up north. And so we tried to figure out a schedule where we could be kind of all over and get new people in the door as much as possible.
Oh, that's really cool. And for like parents out there who maybe homeschool, I mean, a big homeschooling population, especially kind of post-COVID in Austin, but even like just kids at home on summer break, is there any kind of preparation parents could do that would make this even more impactful, or what would you recommend?
I honestly think it's just, you know, a nice hour of fun to bring your kids to where you don't have to sit outside in the heat to entertain them. There's no preparation that really needs to be involved. We'll teach the kids everything they need to know. It's very interactive. And you can come from not knowing what an opera is to being an opera aficionado. There's no skill level at all. We welcome everybody.
Okay. Now, what if your kid goes to this and falls in love like you did? What are the next steps for that kid? Because, you know, most parents, you know, there's a lot of hard roads out there. Like you want to be a doctor or engineer. But that's pretty straightforward. Okay, you need to learn chemistry. You need to learn biology, right? Opera, it's a different world.
Absolutely.
What would you recommend? Let's say you have an 11-year-old who goes in there and just like, oh my gosh, this is it. how do I get to where you are? What advice do you have for them?
Absolutely. I think a lot of this for me, and what I would want if I were a kid, is I just want someone to see my passion for this and nurture it. A lot of the time with music or sports, we encourage kids who have a proclivity to do these things to go for it, but only in an aspect of, oh, this can be your hobby or this can be a side thing that you want to do. But I think it's really important for kids to see that there are working professionals that are not just standard upper middle class people. These people look like me, and they have the same story as me. I'm a first gen student. My parents didn't go to college. I was the first one, and I had to figure out all that kind of stuff by myself. But I had mentors who saw that I was really hungry to be here and would eat up whatever they would offer me. And so I think that's one of the best things we can do for kids who are interested in being future artists, is just see that talent and give them as much as they can take in so that they can nurture that and make it into something that could be a viable career one day. I tell my voice students here at BSOM all the time, the more genres and styles that you can learn how to sing in, the more you will be successful. And I think that this is just another aspect of that. Kids get a lot of pop music, music theater on their own time, but they don't really get opera on their own time. And so this is an opportunity for us to show them, look, music can sound like this too, and it's also really cool. And so hopefully there will be some kids out there who say, you know what, this is the first time I've actually been in this experience, and I kind of like it because that was me. And if you keep sticking with it, you can make something out of it, including being in the children's chorus at Austin Opera, if that interests you.
Whoa, I didn't know that. There's a children's
Oh,
chorus?
absolutely. So we just closed our production of Carmen about a month ago, and
Oh, my
that
gosh.
opera has a children's chorus. Some of the big famous ones, La Boheme, big children's chorus. And so there are definitely so many opportunities in the live music capital of the world to get your kids involved in opera if that's something they're interested in.
So if if they like this workshop, they should go try to join the chorus.
Absolutely. And from UT's perspective as well, we're creating future artists of tomorrow, right? Those are our students that are coming up.
We're recruiting.
Absolutely. And I want to see those kids in my voice studio in 10, 15 years. So I'm really excited about the long-term impact that this will have on the community.
Yeah, and a lot of times people, especially if you're in kind of an underserved community, and for opera, that's like almost every community except for white, right? You might think like, oh, I'm not going to be welcome there.
Right.
But actually, there is a huge push. I mean, it's a very welcoming opera and classical music in general of trying to embrace these different communities.
Absolutely. Austin Opera has had a generous donation from the Butlers to increase Hispanic and Latinx programming. They named Claudia Chapa the director of that, and so we've been working with Claudia as well just to make sure that we're providing things for our community that actually serves the community of Austin. Who lives here today? Whose butts are in the seats today? And what do they want? What do they like? And I think it's really important that just because there's a lot of space between the stage and the audience in the Long Center doesn't mean that it has to be like that all the time. So hopefully this will be the continuation of a lot of community partnerships and more interdisciplinary outreach.
Cool. So, and then just the last question, the chorus. What do you have to audition to it? Like, how do you prepare for that? Like, I think a lot of parents would be intimidated. What are the ages?
Yeah.
I've never heard anything about it, so it's kind of interesting. So
yeah, absolutely. So not every show has kids in it. It's usually, whatever the composer calls for in the score. But Austin Opera has auditions every August for the...
Wait. So this chorus, they're actually in the real productions?
Yes.
Oh,
They're on
wow.
stage. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it's super fun.
Well, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. You can get on stage really young. So I always tell my students are always surprised because Emmy Rossum, she was the actress who played Christine in the Phantom of the Opera film that was, I don't know, probably early 2000s. She actually got her start in the Metropolitan Opera Children's Chorus.
Oh, wow.
And then that turned into her doing Broadway and Hollywood. And so, the arts are all connected. So you
Yeah.
never know. Your child may spark an interest at this library event and then maybe sing in the children's chorus at Austin Opera, and who knows from there. I'm really excited about the partnership that UT and Austin Opera have together. I think we're really building something interesting that the community wants, and this is just the beginning.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us. This has been
Absolutely.
great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.